Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to the MGMA Podcast. I'm Daniel Williams, Senior Editor at MGMA, and I am thrilled today that we have a guest who is one of our keynote speakers, Seb Terry, and that he is going to be speaking at our MGMA Leaders Conference, which is going to be in Orlando. The dates of those are, everybody, it's September 28th through October 1st. And Seb is our closing keynote speaker, and we're super excited to have him there. And I'll just give you a little bit of background, then we're going to take a deeper dive into what Seb is all about. He is the founder of 100 Things. It's a movement born from his own journey of writing down 100 life goals and setting out to achieve them. I'm glad he's our guest because I need to write down some goals. I'm so excited about that. So, Seb,
Mhm.
welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me, Daniel.
I often get asked about my accent. I'm from the South here in America. Where are you from originally, or where does your accent come from?
I'm Australian, so I'm from Sydney. Although I've been living, of course, in the US for about 9 years now. I think my accent's neutral, I would say, but I'm not sure. I went back to Australia for a talk recently, and I got into a taxi, and the cab driver asked where in America I was from. So I don't know.
Well, this is so interesting. Now, something that I've noticed because I love film, I love movies, and Eric Bana is
Oh
one of
yeah.
your exports to America. I'd seen him in American movies for 20 plus years. And then I saw an Australian movie, The Dry, and he spoke in his natural accent. It's the
Oh
first time
yeah.
I'd ever heard him speak in an Australian accent. And it was
Well, I tell you what, actually, if you and for anyone listening likes Eric Bana or Australian movies, he's in two that I would highly recommend. One is called The Castle,
okay.
which is an Australian comedy. It's probably 20 years old, and for anyone who likes Australian culture, it's brilliant. It's one of his first, I think it was his first movie. It's a comedy. And then there's another one called Chopper, which
Yeah.
is based on do you know Chopper?
I
Based on
am
the
very
Australian.
familiar with the film. I've unfortunately never seen it though.
Oh, well, it's funny in Australia because we love the underdogs,
Hmm.
and Chopper is a criminal. He's serial killer, but
Okay.
he's celebrated. He's celebrated for some reason in Australia, not for the heinous crimes, but like his
Right.
attitude. He's anyway. Eric Bana portrays Chopper in this movie, and it's brilliant. Yeah.
Those are two great movie choices, everyone. So if you're an Eric Bana fan, you will have to go out and see
Yeah.
those. So thank you so much for clarifying that. So, Seb, take us back to the beginning. As I let off, you have developed this program, 100 Things. Where did this come from? What's the origin of it?
Well, I mean, I think like many people, I was kind of just sort of living the blueprint that was set out for me, and it didn't feel quite right. And then I just sort of had a few things happen in my life that made me take stock properly of the direction I was going in. And so I think one of them was I got a degree, which didn't really mean too much to me. I started a business that didn't really mean too much to me. And then I lost a friend. And the combination of all three of those things sort of just weighed in one moment where I sort of broke down really, and I just questioned everything, and I realized I was very unhappy and I was disconnected to any sense of purpose or people, certainly impact. I was just drifting, didn't know who I was, very unhappy, and I just decided to grab a piece of paper and pen and write down a list of things that I thought might make me smile more often. And then I thought, well, what could be more important than that? So I essentially dropped everything in my life to achieve this list. And it's been going for about 16 years now. And I've of course done many things from this list, which are bizarre and weird and quirky and all of that stuff. But the most beautiful thing is that it's created this ripple effect that's gone on to touch many lives. And I've been fortunate enough to not only achieve many of my goals, but support others with theirs as well. And I'm answering probably every question you're going to ask, but that's developed into like a book and a show and obviously speaking. And I feel very grateful for it all. And I certainly feel different to when I started.
What is the secret then of putting down a goal and then achieving it? Because a lot of people here, we will, when the new year hits, we'll put down those goals for the year. Like I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. and then it gets to about mid-January and you've already quit doing those things. So what is different here? How are you putting these goals down and then sticking to them?
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways to think about it. I mean, one thing over time that I've realized is the very same things that stop us from taking action towards a goal end up being the very same things that people on their deathbed regret. And ultimately, there's a book actually called "Regrets of the Dying" by Bronnie Ware. She lists the five most common regrets of the people she looked after before they passed. She was a palliative care nurse,
Hmm.
and the first thing is I wish I hadn't lived a life expected of me. I wish I'd lived a life true to myself. The second was I wish I'd let myself be happier. I wish I had worked less, not meaning to work less, but
Sure.
prioritize other things as much as we tend
Hmm.
to with work. I wish I had expressed myself more, my feelings, my emotions, and finally, I wish I'd stayed in touch with people. And I think all of those things speak to what's interesting that they're all choices. We can address them immediately, all of us. But linking them to the things that stop us from actually achieving goals now in the present, I think one thing that we don't do is we're not crystal clear on goals. We goals are sort of quite vague for many of us, and the more vague they are, the less likelihood there is of them, coming true. So I think the first thing is we have to be crystal clear on goals, and there's a whole science and a psychology to actually coming up with the goal in the first place. I'll
Hmm.
be talking about that on stage, of course.
Okay.
But we have to be crystal clear with goals that are meaningful to us. The second is using accountability, surrounding ourselves with people who support, inspire, encourage us, we can share with, they can share with us, etc. So we need to create accountability. And that can be as simple as simply just telling someone what your goal is. And then thirdly, the thing that holds many of us back is just actually finally taking that first bold step. So, I mean, look, I think New Year's resolutions and I want to lose weight and all that sort of stuff, I think they're fine, but I think what they are missing is true thought and consideration, and then an action plan and an accountability group. I mean, in addition to that, there, from a psychological point of view, we, of course, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of change, those things hold us back as well. And again, in the talk, I'll be addressing some of that too.
Sure. One thing that interests me is we keep using the term goals, but you call it 100 things. Was 100 goals taken, or is
Yeah.
does things fit better what you actually are achieving here?
No, I wouldn't look into that too much, to be honest, Daniel. It was just a name. I just, I just have 100 things that I'm trying to do.
Okay.
It's very casual, I suppose. But yeah, whether it's a goal, a dream, an ambition, a milestone, it's something that we're planting a flag in the ground and saying that's what I want to do. So I think we in the workplace, of course we have people to tell us usually. If we're not a leader themselves, we have milestones, we have targets, we have action plans, we have accountability through our teams. But I think on a personal level, we tend not to do it that way. And we let it slip. That's why work goals get done far more frequently than personal goals because we don't have that accountability or sense of or framework around our personal goals. But I mean, yeah, look, they're dreams, they're goals, they're all of the above. The only important thing is not what you call them, but just that you know what they are.
Hmm. When you developed this program, did you have one at the top of the list that you said, I'm doing this one first, or how did that process go about? Because the reason I'm asking that is you could put down 100 things and then just look at the list and be totally overwhelmed by it because the sheer volume of things. So how are you kind of taking a
Yeah.
bite out of each one of these?
Well, firstly, it doesn't have to be 100 things. I mean, truly, you only need one, right, to,
Hmm.
to feel that sense of purpose. In fact, but by simply writing down a goal, not even
Hmm.
achieving it, from writing it down, serotonin and dopamine are released into the body. And I think now it's sort of everyone knows this stuff, but
Yeah.
as a reminder, serotonin makes us feel good. It gives us confidence. It makes us feel happy. Dopamine, same sort of stuff. It's addictive. It has the potential to reduce depression, regulate anxiety, like essentially allow us to feel a lot more positive in many different ways. And those chemicals are released into the body, not when we achieve a goal, but from the moment we identify the goal. So one goal is enough for us to start turning things
Mhm.
around. Um, so yeah, that's it. So no one needs to be listening to this. I'm not coming on stage saying, hey, everyone need to create 100 goals. I will say the benefit of a list though is that, some goals we can't just finish straight away, and it takes time, and we have to wait for events and external forces to be ready or right, timings of, whatever. So the benefit of a list is you can sort of chop and change between those things. You can push one boat out as far as you can, and then you can pivot to the next one and push that out. And it's sort of almost spinning plates in a way. And again, if you think of all the aspects of our lives, I think a bucket list is like, I think it could stand to be rebranded.
Mhm.
I think typically we think it's adrenaline seeking, jumping out of planes naked, etc. Which it can be, but that only represents one thing. A bucket list might benefit from kind of really enforcing, and it's actually just a list of things that represent every aspect of our lives, from sure, travel and adventure and creativity, but to romantic love, key relationships, giving back in the world, professional development, personal development. So we find that when we have a list, there might be something as, weekly date nights with my spouse might sit next to completing a marathon, which might sit next to meditate more and be kinder to myself. So, yeah, one goal is enough, but I do think a list is preferential.
Okay. I have one more question about your list, then I want to expand it because your 100 things has expanded worldwide. Of the things on your list that perhaps you've accomplished or developed as a habit, what's one you really take a lot of pride in or really feel like that was a great accomplishment for you to check off the list or include on your list?
Uh, well, to be honest, the one that meant the most to me was helping somebody.
Hmm.
I helped a gentleman. I won't give too much away now,
Okay,
but
sure, sure.
I helped a gentleman achieve a really important goal of his, and he was a quadriplegic, and I was fortunate enough to, be able to work with him on something quite special. I'll share that from stage. But I mean, outside of that, I find them. I'm really proud of all the things I've done, and it's not to say that I think they're the best things in the world and everyone should be doing
Right.
them, because I think lists are relative, to individuality. But I represented Mauritius, an island nation just off the southeast coast of Africa, at rugby. And it was
Hmm.
because I was just really happy with that. My mum's from Mauritius, and I always wanted to sing the national anthem as part of a sporting team. And I was just never quite good enough to do it in Australia. So I found out that I could get a passport to Mauritius. I flew there, tried out every sport that they had, and I got accepted for the rugby team. And then we got flown to Botswana, and we played in the National African Championship, and we won. And I had to learn the national anthem on the way out there. That's always something that I quite like, because it was really sort of unlikely, and I really had to put in the effort, and I wasn't guaranteed to make the team, and I'm stoked that I did.
That is remote. What a great story. I love that.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about now how this has grown. Talk about that, what your reaction to this is. I mean, when you began making this list, um, did you imagine that it would become this worldwide thing and you'd be touching the lives of everyone? Was that even one of your dreams that perhaps it could go
No,
there? What's that been like?
no, I had no, no, zero idea. I mean, I had it publish a book on there,
Okay.
which I thought might be interesting, but I actually had a kid's book in mind, which I actually had written about six books, or drafted six books
Hmm.
about the boats on Sydney Harbour and how they all had personalities, and like I still would love to do it. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it kind of just all happened. What I realized immediately is that it resonated with people. I would just tell someone without really doing anything, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I have a list of 100 things, and I'm just trying to be happy. And people would see themselves in me, because I'm not the only person who felt at one point very, um, or disconnected to myself and the world around me. I think many of us do. And so immediately I saw that there was something to it. And then I was asked to speak on one occasion at a travel show in England, and I did it, for free. And then I got asked to speak at a school in Canada, and I did that. And I loved it. And I saw the reaction of the kids as well as the adults. So it was quite profound. And everything sort of just developed accidentally. But now I'm in this position where I really do see the impact it has. And you couldn't stop me from doing what I literally get emails from people who are, in a very, very dark place, contemplating
Yeah.
self-harm and all that sort of
Sure.
stuff. And because they hear of this story, they decide to make a positive choice in their life. So I can't stop this, because it really does make a difference. I'm really proud of that too.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We have time for a couple more questions. So I want to let you know a little bit more about the MGMA audience. These are medical practice administrators, some are doctors, some are nurses, but in this healthcare world, people are many of them, many of them are overwhelmed. They're overburdened by administrative tasks, by understaffing, by all the other things. So you've probably heard previously someone might come to you and go, I want to have a list. I want to know things, but I'm just too overwhelmed to even sit down and begin a list. So when you hear people who are just either stressed out or short on time, what's your advice to them so they can begin to apply this to their own lives?
Well, I would say that, I mean, I completely get it. We do live in a fast-paced world, depending on the industry and what have you. But, when you're in we really are on the front line of helping people, as the audience will be, it's true. There is a lot of stress there. There isn't much time to ourselves. But I would also say, although that is true, it's equally important to start considering what's going to allow us to feel good about ourselves so that we can actually serve others, in our family, our friends, or professionally, that, our patients, the people we actually serve in a better, more productive way. And I think that does come from being able to identify important, meaningful goals and taking action towards them. The truth is, sitting down and giving yourself 15 minutes just to consider one thing is beneficial for our mental health in a world where burnout and disengagement and disconnection is so common. We do have to go internal, and we don't find the answer to that stuff externally. And the goals don't also have to be world changing. It's not necessarily that you have to, move to Tibet for 6 months, become a monk, and climb a mountain. Although, by the way, that does sound fun. I feel like you can just be kinder to yourself. You could actually just, carve out 30 minutes or 10 minutes to meditate, or, you could finally watch that movie you've always wanted to. And I go through this all the time, by the way. That there are projects and things that I've put to one side for a long time, and I don't feel good about that. And I convince myself I have no time to do that. I'm on the road, or I'm, whatever is my version of busy. And then finally, I get around to doing that one thing, sitting down, finally addressing a project or writing something down, and instantly I feel better, and I feel like, why didn't I do that earlier?
Mhm.
And everyone knows this to be true. So, to those people out there who are really burdened, I would say, although it feels counterintuitive, just take a moment for yourself to identify what's important to yourself, even just one thing, and then just take a micro step towards that, and that'll help.
Okay. Last question then. You've mentioned kindness several times during this discussion, and in researching you, that's a core part of your mission. So, what role has kindness played in shaping your journey? Tell us about that.
If I look back at everything I've done, it's not because I've been a beacon of strength and a maverick and some pioneer, and that's couldn't be further from the truth. Everything I've managed to do in my life has been because of other people and connection. And I find that story to be true for anyone. The biggest things we ever achieve in our lives, the biggest impact we might create, the biggest legacy that we, might be lucky enough to leave behind us in or out of the workplace, doesn't come just by way of us being strong or able. It actually comes by, I believe, to be the depth of the connection that we have to the people around us. A lot of, in other words, we are strong as individuals, but we're better together. There's that quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And it's something like that anyway. And
Hmm.
and I just find that to be true. I genuinely think that the biggest untapped resource on the planet is kindness. I just feel we all have it. We all innately have the ability and desire to help or support people around us, but we're just not sure how. And so that's why that is the added benefit of being very clear with our goals, because once we share them with loved ones or accountability partners, we light up we light up in others the ability to think about supporting each other. And that's why, again, of course, I'm a big proponent of people being clear with their goals and sharing them. So yeah, I think kindness exists. I'm lucky enough to see it every day. And for all of the stuff that people may hear of me doing for other people, it's only because I realize that's what people were doing for me in the first place.
All right. Well, Seb Terry, thank you for joining us on the MGMA podcast today.
Thanks, Daniel. Pleasure. I can't wait to see you in person.
All right. Well, everybody, Seb is going to be speaking Wednesday, October 1st at our MGMA Leaders Conference. So if you haven't registered yet or you want to read more about it, go to mgma.com MGMA.com/leaders. You can learn everything about it, register, sign up, do all those good things. So until then, thank you everyone for being MGMA podcast listeners.